Have you ever made a promise you were absolutely certain you would keep, and then broken it in the worst possible way at the worst possible moment? Have you ever let down the one person who believed in you more than anyone else in the world, the one person who saw something in you that nobody else could see, and watched the disappointment register in their eyes? Have you ever done something so contrary to who you thought you were, so shockingly out of character, that you walked away from it not even recognizing yourself anymore? Peter did. The man Jesus called the rock. The man who walked on water. The man who declared with absolute conviction, even if everyone else abandons you, I never will. That same man, within hours of making that promise, stood by a fire in a courtyard and looked people in the eyes and said, I do not know him. 3 times, while Jesus was being beaten inside. And then a rooster crowed. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. This is not just Peter's story. This is the story of every person alive who has ever sat alone in the wreckage of their own failure, drowning in shame so heavy they could not see any way back. Stay with me. Because what Jesus did after the resurrection, specifically for Peter, is the most breathtaking act of personal restoration in the entire Bible. To understand the depth of Peter's shame, you have to understand who Peter was to Jesus and who Jesus was to Peter. Peter was not a quiet, reserved, careful man. He was loud, passionate, impulsive, the kind of man who spoke before he thought and moved before he planned. When Jesus walked on water toward the disciples' boat in the middle of a storm, every other disciple stayed in the boat. Peter said, Lord, if it is you, tell me to come. And he climbed out. He was that kind of man. When soldiers came to arrest Jesus in the garden, Peter pulled out a sword and cut off a man's ear. Alone. Against an armed crowd. That was Peter. All or nothing. Everything or nothing. And his love for Jesus was real. Completely. Absolutely real. When Jesus asked the disciples, Who do you say I am? It was Peter who answered without hesitation. You are the Messiah. The Son of the living God. Jesus looked at him and said, Blessed are you, Simon. On this rock I will build my church. The rock. That was Peter's identity, given to him by Jesus himself. So when Jesus told his disciples at the Last Supper, all of you will fall away because of me tonight, Peter pushed back immediately. Even if all fall away, I will not. Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. He meant every word. With everything in him. He meant it. And then the night came. And everything fell apart. The soldiers came to the Garden of Gethsemane. Judas at the front, the other betrayal, the one that set this whole night in motion. They arrested Jesus. The disciples fled, all of them. Into the darkness. But Peter could not stay away. He followed, at a distance, into the courtyard of the high priest where Jesus was being held and questioned and beaten. Peter stood by a fire, warming his hands, trying to disappear into the crowd. A servant girl looked at him. Stared, then said, You also were with Jesus of Galilee. And Peter, in front of everyone standing there, said, I do not know what you are talking about. He moved toward the gateway. Another girl saw him and said to those around her, This man was with Jesus of Nazareth. And Peter denied it again, with an oath. I do not know the man. A little while later, others came up to Peter. Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away. And this time, Peter began to call down curses on himself. He swore, I do not know the man. And immediately, a rooster crowed. At that exact moment, Jesus turned and looked straight at Peter. The Bible says Jesus looked at Peter. Not in anger. Not in condemnation. Just looked at him. And Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken, Before the rooster crows you will disown me 3 times. Peter went outside and wept bitterly. I want you to sit in that moment. That look. That crow of a rooster. That walk outside into the cold night air alone. Because this is the moment where shame takes over completely. Peter did not just feel bad about what he had done. He did not just feel guilty. He felt like everything he thought he was had been exposed as a lie. The rock had crumbled. The man who said I will die with you had said I do not know him 3 times in a row. The boldest disciple had become the most cowardly in the space of an hour. And now he was outside, alone, in the dark, weeping bitterly. This is what shame does. It does not just convict you of what you did. It rewrites your entire identity around that moment. You are no longer Peter who walked on water. You are Peter who denied Jesus. You are no longer the rock. You are the crumble. You are no longer the man who loved Jesus more than anyone. You are the man who looked people in the eyes and swore he did not know him. And shame whispers, That is who you really are. Everything else was performance. This moment by the fire, this is the real you. Then Jesus was crucified. And Peter watched it happen, carrying every word of those 3 denials in his chest like stones. Watching the man he had promised to die with actually die. Without him. Because of him. And then 3 days of silence. 3 days of sitting in the wreckage of the worst thing he had ever done. 3 days of isolation so complete and so heavy that when the women came running to say the tomb was empty, Peter ran to see for himself. Not with faith, with desperate, broken, shameful hope that somehow, there was still a way back. Jesus rose from the dead. He appeared to Mary. He appeared to the disciples. He appeared to 500 people. But there is one appearance, one specific, personal, intentional conversation that the Bible records with extraordinary detail. Jesus appeared to the disciples by the Sea of Galilee. Peter had gone back to fishing, back to what he was before Jesus called him. Because when shame convinces you that you have disqualified yourself from your destiny, you go back to what you were before the destiny found you. Jesus stood on the shore, called out to them, told them to throw their net on the other side of the boat. They caught so many fish they could not haul the net in. And John looked at Peter and said, "It is the Lord." And Peter, impulsive, passionate, all or nothing Peter, jumped into the water and swam to shore. Jesus had bread and fish cooking over a fire, a charcoal fire, the same kind of fire Peter had been standing by when he denied Jesus 3 times. That detail is not accidental. Jesus was about to do those 3 denials, right next to the same kind of fire where they happened. They ate together. And then Jesus turned to Peter and asked him the question, "Simon, do you love me more than these?" Peter said, "Yes, Lord. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again, the second time, Jesus asked, "Simon, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep." A third time, "Simon, do you love me?" The Bible says Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time. And he said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep." 3 questions, 3 answers, 3 restorations. 1 for every denial. Jesus did not bring up the courtyard. He did not list the failures. He did not make Peter apologize in detail for every moment of that terrible night. He just asked, "Do you love me?" And every time Peter said yes, Jesus gave him back his assignment. Not a smaller assignment, a probationary assignment. The full assignment: feed my sheep, tend my lambs, take care of what I am entrusting to you. The rock who crumbled was being rebuilt. Stone by stone, question by question. Right there by the fire. This is the God we serve. He does not just forgive you. He restores you to the exact assignment shame told you that you had lost forever. Shame is the most effective tool the enemy has against people who love God, because it does not attack people who do not care. It attacks the ones who care deeply. The ones who made real promises with real love and real intention. The ones who genuinely believed they would never fail the people and the God they love most. And when they do fail, and we all do, shame does not just make them feel guilty. It isolates them. It drives them outside into the cold dark night alone. It makes them go back to fishing. Back to what they were before God called them. Because shame convinces you that the calling was conditional, that it was based on your performance, and since you failed the performance, the calling is gone. Peter's story destroys that lie completely, because Jesus did not wait for Peter to get his life together before he restored him. He cooked him breakfast. He sat with him by a fire. He asked him a simple question 3 times. And he gave him back everything shame had told him he had lost. Maybe you are sitting outside in your own cold dark night right now. Maybe you made a promise you did not keep. Maybe you failed someone who trusted you completely. Maybe you did the very thing you swore you would never do. And now shame has you convinced that you are disqualified. That the person you thought you were was just a performance. That the real you is the one who failed. Jesus is standing on the shore of your life right now, with a fire going, with food ready, asking you one question. Do you love me? Not have you fixed everything. Not have you made it right with everyone. Not, are you ready to prove yourself again? Just, do you love me? And if the answer is why yes, even a broken, weeping, swimming through the water, yes, that is enough. That is the beginning of your restoration. Peter denied Jesus 3 times by a fire. And Jesus restored him 3 times by a fire. The same number, the same setting. A deliberate, intentional, personal act of grace that erased every denial with a restoration. That means whatever number of times you have failed, God has an equal and opposite restoration waiting for you. So here is my question for you today. What has shame been telling you that you have lost forever because of what you did? What assignment, what calling, what relationship, what version of yourself has shame convinced you is gone for good? Drop it in the comments, because I believe Jesus is asking you the same question he asked Peter today. And I believe your answer, even broken, even weeping, even from the water, is enough to start the restoration. Share this with someone hiding in shame right now. Subscribe to Bible Study Hub for stories that go straight to the heart of real human experience every single week. Peter went from the man who denied Jesus by a fire to the man who preached on the day of Pentecost and 3,000 people gave their lives to God. Your denial is not your destiny. Your restoration is already waiting by the fire.